Chapter 17, Weight of Command. The trauma care facility on Deck 1.02 occupied a surprisingly small section of the casino level, tucked between a holographic roulette wheel and the entrance to an immersive poker lounge. The location had been Dr. Jackson's idea. Statistically, more medical emergencies were expected to occur where people gathered to drink and gamble than anywhere else on the station. Jay stood in the doorway of the infirmary, watching the steady rise and fall of Rodriguez's chest as the ventilator breathed for him. Synthetic blood plasma flowed through tubes into his arm, replacing what he'd lost in the cave. The medical nanobots were working overtime to repair the damage from 3 bullet wounds, but he'd survive. Martinez sat upright in the adjacent bed, his left shoulder immobilized, but alert and arguing with the medical AI about discharge timing. "I can walk fine," he insisted. "These beds are needed for people worse off than me." "Your hemoglobin levels indicate otherwise," the AI replied with programmed patience. 12 more hours of observation and supplemental iron therapy. Kazan had refused a bed entirely, accepting only a dermal patch for her grazing wound and a mild pain reliever. She stood near the synthetic body they'd recovered, making notes on a tablet as the medical team prepared it for transport to the research lab. "How are they doing?" Jay asked Dr. Jennifer Barker, the trauma team leader. "Rodriguez will make a full recovery, though it will be weeks before he's cleared for active duty. Martinez lost significant blood, but the nanobots have stabilized him. Kazan's wound is superficial. She'll be fine in a few days." Jay nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility for their injuries. "What about Connors? I need to understand what happened." Dr. Barker's expression tightened. Chief Engineer Connors' case was complicated. She'd apparently missed her last scheduled nanobot treatment. When she took those bullets to the abdomen, her body couldn't repair the damage fast enough. By the time we got her into surgery, she'd lost too much blood and gone into shock. "Why would she have missed her treatment?" Jay asked. "The nanobots are what keep us functioning in space. The radiation protection alone make them essential." "I don't know," Dr. Barker admitted. "The treatment logs show she canceled her last appointment and never rescheduled. It's unusual, to say the least. Most people are very diligent about their treatments." Jay stared at Connor's name on the patient roster, now marked with a red cross, indicating deceased. Sarah Connors, brilliant engineer, devoted friend to Mitchell, trusted member of his inner circle. Dead because she skipped a medical appointment, and he'd led her into a firefight against synthetic soldiers. The irony wasn't lost on him. In trying to prevent the portal technology from falling into the wrong hands, they'd lost their last working portal pair anyway. The cave had been destroyed, taking with it not just the portal frames, but also the mysterious glyphs that had originally led them to the site. Everything they'd fought to protect was gone. "Administrator?" Dr. Barker's voice pulled him from his brooding. "The synthetic is ready for transport to the research lab, but we need authorization to begin the autopsy." "Granted. Full analysis. I want to know everything about its construction, programming, and capabilities." As the medical team wheeled the synthetic body toward the exit, Jay caught sight of Mitchell approaching down the corridor. Her face was set in hard lines, her usual professional composure replaced by barely controlled fury. "We need to talk," she said, without preamble. "Now." Jay followed her to a small conference room adjacent to the medical bay. The moment the door closed, Mitchell's composure shattered. "She's dead because of you," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "Sarah is dead because you had to play hero, had to lead the mission personally instead of letting professionals handle it. Mitchell, don't." She cut him off, jabbing a finger into his chest. "You're not qualified for this. You're a pilot, a good one. Maybe even a great one, but you're not a military commander. You're not a strategist. You're certainly not someone who should be making life and death decisions for other people." Jay absorbed the accusation without responding. Part of him agreed with her, the part that had never wanted the responsibility in the first place. "Sarah was the best engineer we had," Mitchell continued. "She could have stayed safe on the station, could have analyzed the portal technology from here, but no, you needed her on the ground, in harm's way, because you don't trust anyone else to make the technical decisions. She volunteered because you asked, because she respected you, believed in your leadership, and now she's dead. And for what?
We lost the portal pair anyway. We destroyed the cave, eliminated any chance of studying those glyphs up close. The mission was a complete failure.
Jay found his voice. We confirmed that our opponents have access to advanced synthetic technology. We prevented them from escaping with the portal. We accomplished nothing, Mitchell interrupted, except getting Sarah killed and proving that you're not the leader everyone thinks you are. The words hit harder than Jay expected, perhaps because they echoed his own doubts, what he believed to be truth. He'd accepted the role of Station 2 administrator reluctantly, driven more by necessity than ambition. But somewhere along the way, he'd started to believe he could actually do it, that he could be the leader these people needed. Mitchell's fury seemed to drain away, replaced with grief. "She was my best friend," she said quietly. "We'd worked together for 3 years. I was going to be her maid of honor next month. She was engaged to Joel." He felt the impact of that revelation. Not just a colleague lost, but someone with a life, with relationships, with a future that had been cut short by his decisions. "I should have insisted on a larger team," he said. "Should have done better reconnaissance, should have anticipated the synthetic operatives. You should have stayed on the station, should have let people with actual military experience handle the mission. Dr. Jackson has resources, specialists, professionals who know how to conduct operations like this." She was right, and Jay knew it. His presence on the mission had been driven more by a need to be personally involved than by tactical necessity. He wanted to lead from the front, but in doing so, he'd put his team at unnecessary risk. "The portal technology is gone," Mitchell continued. "Earth intelligence agencies are claiming victory. They're saying the station project is finished, that we've lost our technological advantage. And maybe they're right." Jay walked to the small window that offered a view of the casino floor outside. People moved about their daily lives, tourists exploring the entertainment options, off-duty personnel relaxing after their shifts, families enjoying time together. All of them depending on leadership they might not be receiving. "What would you have me do?" he asked without turning around. "Quit," Mitchell said without hesitation. "Admit you're not qualified for this role. Let Dr. Jackson find someone who actually knows how to lead. And in the meantime? In the meantime, we stop pretending we're something we're not. We're engineers and scientists and support staff, not soldiers. We build things. We solve problems. We don't get our friends killed playing spy games with synthetic murderers." Jay turned back to face her. Mitchell's anger had been replaced by exhaustion, by the weight of grief and loss. "I'll consider your recommendation," he said quietly. "But right now we have wounded personnel to care for and a synthetic to analyze. Whatever comes next, we need to understand what we're facing." Mitchell studied his face for a long moment. "You're not going to step down, are you?" "I don't know," Jay admitted. "I need time to think." "Time we might not have," Mitchell replied. "Every day you delay making the right decision is another day of risk for everyone on this station."
She huffed out without saying another word, leaving Jay alone with his doubts and the weight of Sarah Connor's death. Through the faux viewport, he could see the steady rotation of stars as Station 2 continued its eternal orbit, carrying 4.5 million souls who trusted him to keep them safe. He thought about Connor's missed nanobot appointment, about the synthetic operatives they'd faced, about the portal technology that was now lost forever. Every decision he'd made had seemed reasonable at the time, but the results spoke volumes. Maybe Mitchell was right. Maybe he wasn't the leader these people needed. But if he stepped down now, who would take his place? And would they be any better prepared for the challenges they were facing? Jay remained at the viewport long after Mitchell left, watching the stars wheel past and wondering if the responsibility of command was something he'd ever truly be able to bear.
Jay? Denise's voice came softly through his implant. Mitchell is grieving. Jay looked up, almost surprised by the AI's interjection. He'd been so lost in his thoughts that he'd forgotten he wasn't truly alone. "I'm aware," he replied, his voice hollow in the empty conference room. "No, I don't think you understand the full picture," Denise continued. "I've been monitoring her biometrics since she learned about Sarah. Her cortisol levels are off the charts. Her heart rate hasn't dropped below 110 beats per minute in hours. She's experiencing physical symptoms of acute grief and shock." Jay sighed, rubbing his temples. "That doesn't make what she said wrong." "It doesn't make it right either," Denise countered. "Mitchell has always been emotionally volatile compared to your other senior staff. Her personnel file shows 17 incidents of what Dr. Jackson categorized as constructive insubordination during her previous assignments." "You're saying she's a hothead?" "I'm saying she processes trauma through anger," Denise clarified. "And right now, you're the most convenient target. The alternative would be accepting that sometimes terrible things happen despite our best efforts." Jay stood and paced the small room. Connors shouldn't have been there. Mitchell's right about that much. Chief Engineer Connors was an adult who made her own decisions, including the decision to postpone her nanobot treatment, which my analysis suggests was the critical factor in her death, not your leadership. "Why would she skip something so essential?" Jay wondered aloud. "I don't know," Denise admitted. "But what I do know is that you are currently exhibiting classic signs of commander's guilt. It's a documented psychological phenomenon where leaders take personal responsibility for outcomes beyond their control." Jay couldn't help but smile slightly at the AI's clinical assessment. "Is this your version of a pep talk, Denise?" "This is my version of accurate information delivery," though Jay detected a hint of warmth in her synthesized voice. "Mitchell needs someone to blame right now." Jay moved back to the window, watching the people below going about their lives, blissfully unaware of the challenges facing the station. "I've analyzed your decision-making against established military and civilian emergency protocols," Denise continued. "Your choices fell well within standard operational parameters. The presence of synthetic operatives was an unknown variable that no reasonable planning could have anticipated." "That's oddly comforting coming from an AI," Jay said. "I'm designed to provide support in all aspects of station management," Denise reminded him, "including supporting the mental well-being of the station administrator." Jay nodded, feeling some of the crushing weight lift from his shoulders. Not all of it. Connors was still dead, the portal still lost, but enough that he could think clearly again. "What would you recommend I do about Mitchell?" he asked. "Give her space," Denise advised. "Grief follows its own timeline. In approximately 72 hours, her initial shock response should transition to a more rational processing stage. In the meantime, I suggest you focus on what we can learn from the synthetic you recovered." Jay nodded, his mind already turning toward the practical. "You're right. If we understand what we're facing, maybe Connor's death won't have been completely in vain." "There's something else you should consider. Connors missed nanobot treatment. It's statistically improbable that someone with her safety record would simply forget something so critical."
You think it might not have been an accident? I think it warrants investigation, Denise replied carefully. Either way, you have 4.6 million people on this station who need your leadership. Mitchell's opinion notwithstanding, the quantitative data suggests you're doing an adequate job under extraordinary circumstances. Adequate, Jay repeated with a small smile. High praise from an AI. I'm still learning the nuances of human encouragement,
Denise replied, and Jay could have sworn he detected a trace of humor in her voice. Perhaps exceptional would be more motivating. For the first time since the failed mission, Jay felt something like hope stir within him. Connors was gone, but there were still people and one very sophisticated AI counting on him. "Adequate will do for now," he said, straightening his shoulders as he headed for the door. "Let's see what our synthetic friend can tell us about who we're really fighting."